If Zoro ever ate a devil fruit, it could not just be some random overpowered ability. It would have to fit the kind of fighter he already is. Zoro is not a trickster. He is not a long-range sniper. He is not someone who wants a power that replaces his swordsmanship. His entire identity is built around discipline, pain tolerance, haki, loyalty, and the dream of becoming the world's greatest swordsman. So the best devil fruit for Zoro is not automatically the flashiest fruit. It is the fruit that makes his sword style more dangerous, without taking away what makes him Zoro. For this list, I picked 5 fruits that would genuinely suit him. Some make him harder to kill, some make his sword attacks more terrifying, some fit the demonic aura he already has, and one, in my opinion, fits Zoro so well that it almost feels unfair. Before the ranking, there is one important rule. I am not just picking fruits that would make Zoro broken. If that was the only goal, you could throw almost any top-tier devil fruit at him and say, well, now Zoro is stronger. Give him magma, lightning, darkness, or a dragon fruit, and of course, he becomes a nightmare. But that is not the real question. The real question is which fruit suits Zoro. That means the fruit has to respect the fact that Zoro is a swordsman first. His best power should not make his 3-sword style irrelevant. It should not turn him into a mage, a cannon, or a completely different kind of fighter. Zoro is direct. He is stubborn. He is physical. He does not like overcomplicated tricks. He wins by pushing through the impossible, taking the pain, sharpening his haki, and landing the slash that ends the fight. So I avoided fruits that feel too sneaky, too goofy, or too dependent on range. Zoro does not need a fruit that lets him hide from the fight. He needs a fruit that makes walking straight into the fight even more terrifying. And I also avoided fruits that would make the sword feel like decoration. Because if Zoro eats a devil fruit, and the first thing we think is, why does he even need swords now? Then that fruit does not actually suit him. The best Zoro fruit should make us think, that is exactly the same monster as before, only worse. Let's rank them from number 5 to number 1. The 5th best devil fruit for Zoro would be the Kira Kira no Mi, the diamond fruit. This is Jozu's fruit, and the reason it fits Zoro is simple. Zoro is already one of the most durable fighters in the Straw Hat crew. This man has been cut, crushed, blasted, electrocuted, launched through buildings, and pushed past the point where most people would stop moving. Thriller Bark basically turned his pain tolerance into legend. So giving Zoro a fruit that turns his body into diamond would not change his fighting style too much. It would amplify something he already has. Picture Zoro biting into the fruit, realizing it tastes awful, and then immediately pretending it did not bother him. At first, nothing dramatic happens. Then his arm catches the light, and his skin hardens into a diamond shine. That is image 1. Zoro eating the diamond fruit. Annoyed but locked in, with sharp crystal light spreading across his hand. The second image is where the power matters. Zoro steps into a battlefield and blocks a massive attack without moving back. His swords are still the focus, but now his body can take hits that would normally break bones. Imagine him charging through cannon fire, diamond shoulders catching sparks, 3 swords raised, refusing to slow down. The downside is that this fruit is mostly defensive. It makes Zoro harder to hurt, but it does not automatically make his slashes more creative. Zoro already has insane endurance, so the diamond fruit gives him a monster upgrade, but not the most interesting one. Still, it suits him because it doesn't make him less of a swordsman. It makes him a swordsman who is even harder to put down. At number 4, I would give Zoro the phoenix fruit. This is Marco's mythical Zoan, and yes, it is usually associated with healing, flight, and blue flames. At first, that may sound more like a support power than a Zoro power. But think about how Zoro actually fights. Zoro is constantly willing to trade damage for victory. He does not dodge every hit. He pushes through. He accepts pain if it means he can land the slash that matters. That is exactly why a regeneration fruit would be terrifying on him. Image 1 would be Zoro eating a glowing blue flame-shaped fruit, sitting calmly on a ruined deck, while spectral phoenix feathers begin forming around him. Zoro launches into the air with blue phoenix wings behind him. 3 swords drawn, flames wrapping around each blade. He is not just flying away from danger. He is using flight to attack from angles no normal swordsman can reach. The phoenix fruit fixes one of Zoro's few practical weaknesses, mobility. Zoro is explosive, but he is not naturally a flyer. Give him wings, regeneration, and aerial movement, and suddenly he can fight giant enemies, sky-based enemies, and island-sized threats with much more freedom. The healing also fits him emotionally in a funny way. Zoro would absolutely use a healing fruit in the most Zoro way possible, not to avoid damage, but to survive more of it. The reason this fruit is only number 4 is that it does pull him slightly away from pure swordsmanship. The flames and healing become a huge part of the identity. But if we are talking about what would make Zoro terrifying in a long war, Phoenix Zoro would be ridiculous. He would be a flying, burning, regenerating swordsman who refuses to die. That is a problem for everyone else. Number 3 is the most obvious swordsman fruit, the Supa Supa no Mi. This is the fruit that turns the user's body into blades. On paper, it sounds perfect for Zoro. His whole fighting style is built around cutting power, so giving his body the ability to become steel blades feels like a natural extension of his dream. Image 1 would show Zoro eating a metallic spiral fruit, with tiny blade-like reflections forming along his fingers as his swords rest beside him. Image 2 would be pure chaos. Zoro is using 3 swords, but now his elbows, knees, shoulders, and even his spinning movement become cutting weapons. Every step is dangerous. Every close-range exchange becomes a trap. Even if someone knocks one sword away, Zoro is still armed. This fruit would make his hand-to-hand defense much better. It would also make techniques like Tatsumaki feel even more brutal, because his entire body could become part of the cutting storm. But there's a weird reason I don't put it at number 1. Zoro already has swords. Turning his body into more swords is strong, but it does not expand his style as much as the top 2 fruits. It makes him sharper, not necessarily deeper. Also, Zoro's whole pride is mastering actual blades. If his body becomes a weapon, it might blur the line between sword skill and fruit power. That said, the Dice fruit is still one of the cleanest fits on this list. It keeps Zoro close range, it keeps him brutal, it keeps the sword theme. And it would make him almost impossible to safely clash with. If Zoro ever ate this fruit, every opponent would have to treat his entire body like a drawn blade. At number 2, we have the Zushi no Mi, the gravity fruit. This is Fujitori's power, and I think it fits Zoro better than people realize. Zoro's attacks already feel heavy. When he swings seriously, the slash does not just look sharp. It feels like pressure. It feels like the air itself is being forced apart. Now imagine if he could literally control gravity through his sword style. Image 1 would show Zoro eating a dark purple fruit, while his swords begin floating slightly off the ground, the deck cracking under invisible pressure. Image 2 would show him drawing all 3 swords as gravity bends around him. Enemy weapons slam into the floor. Rubble floats upward. A purple gravity field wraps around his blades as he prepares a finishing slash. This fruit would let Zoro control the battlefield. He could increase gravity to pin enemies down, lighten himself for faster movement, pull opponents into range, or make his slashes fall with impossible weight. A flying slash from Gravity Zoro would not just cut, it would crush. This also fits his personality. Zoro is direct. Gravity is direct. It does not need deception. It is invisible pressure made real. The only reason it is not number 1 is that it is almost too broad. Gravity can do so many things that it might start to overshadow the swords. Fujitora uses it beautifully with a sword, but the fruit itself is powerful enough to become the main attraction. Still, for Zoro, gravity would be insane. Imagine an opponent trying to block one of his strongest attacks, only for the weight of the entire battlefield to drop onto their shoulders at the same time. That is not just swordsmanship. Now for number 1. I am going with a mythical Zoan idea, the human fruit, model Ashura. To be clear, this is not a confirmed canon devil fruit. But if we are asking what fruit best suits Zoro, this is the one that feels like it was made for him. Zoro already has Ashura imagery in his fighting style. When he pushes himself to a terrifying level, he appears like a demonic warrior with extra heads and arms. Whether you see that as spirit, haki, illusion, or killing intent, the point is clear. Zoro's strongest aura already looks like a mythic transformation. So imagine if that became a real devil fruit power. Image 1 would show Zoro eating a dark mythical fruit shaped with horn-like curls, while a faint 6-armed warrior shadow rises behind him. Image 2 would be the final form. Zoro in a full Ashura-like transformation. 3 faces implied through aura, 6 arms holding blades, black and green haki lightning around him, standing in the middle of a shattered battlefield. This fruit would not replace Zoro's swordsmanship. It would reveal the monster that his swordsmanship has always been pointing toward. The best part is that mythical zoans usually enhance the user's body, recovery, and physical presence. That means Zoro would become stronger, tougher, and more monstrous without losing the need for skill. He would still have to train. He would still need haki. He would still need his swords. But now his demonic aura would have a physical form. That is why this fruit wins for me. The diamond fruit makes Zoro tougher. The phoenix fruit makes him harder to kill. The dice fruit makes him sharper. The gravity fruit makes his slashes heavier. But the Ashura fruit makes Zoro more Zoro. It takes the thing that already defines his strongest moments and turns it into a full power system. And if Zoro's dream is to become the world's greatest swordsman, then the best fruit for him is not the one that gives him an easy shortcut. It is the one that turns his own spirit into a weapon. So my final top 5 devil fruits for Zoro would be number 5, the diamond fruit, number 4, the phoenix fruit, number 3, the dice fruit, number 2, the gravity fruit, and number 1, a mythical Ashura fruit. But honestly, the funny part is that Zoro is probably better without a devil fruit. Because Zoro's entire character is about earning strength the hard way. He trains, he bleeds, he gets lost, he sleeps through chaos, then he wakes up and cuts through something impossible. A devil fruit could make him stronger, but it would also come with the biggest weakness in the One Piece world, the sea. And for a pirate swordsman who wants to stand beside the future pirate king, that trade-off matters. So if Zoro ever did eat a fruit, it would have to be one that respects his swordsmanship, not replaces it. That is why the Ashura idea wins. Because the best Zoro power is not a gimmick. It is the demon already inside the swordsman, finally stepping into the light.